Wel, Cynhadledd, am braf yw hi gwrdd yng Nghaerdydd, a braf cwrdd hefyd ar adeg pan mae'r blaid ar ei fyny. Ydych chi'n gallu teimlo'r potensial yn y neuadd hwn, yn y bobl sydd o'n cwmpas ni? Mae'n teimlo fel bod newid mawr ar droed. Gyfeillion, bydd 2026 yn flwyddyn dda iawn i Gymru. Mae gen i deimlad da iawn am hynny. Ac mawr mae angen newid ar ein gwlad. Ers i ni gyrdd diwethaf, mae sgandal ar ôl sgandal wedi cydio yn Llywodraeth Lafur y Bai. Dan Fawn Gething, y dyn di-gydwybod, y dyn di-gywilydd. Dyna falle'r benod helaethaf o hybris yn hanes gwleidyddiaeth Gymraeg y fodern. Bu rhaid iddo gwympo achos ei falchder. Ac ers iddo fynd, ffocws y Blaid Lafur yng Nghymru, ydy'r Blaid Lafur yng Nghymru. Dewiswn nhw arweinydd a fyddai'n tawelu'r mynciau cefn, fyddai'n ysgoi ragor o ymrafael. Ond person, a oedd heb ddarlun clir o paham oedd hi eisiau'r swydd. Mae gennym Lywodraeth sy'n blaenoriaethu cadw'r dyfroedd yn dawel, yn lle creu tonnau ar tonnau sy'n troi'n llanw. Llywodraeth sy'n gwrthod yn llwyr y syniad bod ganddyn nhw ddylanwad ar ein meistri yn Llundain. Wel, o leia maen nhw'n realistig. Na, ffocysu'n fewnol a wnant, wastad yn barod i ildio i systema a'i gryw yn cilgamu i ysgoi unrhyw lletwythdod. Cynhadledd, ryni yng Nghymru angen llywodraeth a fydd yn sefyll lan bydd ein pobl yn lle aros yn dawel pan mae camwedd ar ôl camwedd yn cael ei gwneud yn cenedl. Dewis oedd tynnu arian nôl o bensiynwyr mewn cartrefi oer. Dewis oedd cadw'r cap creulon ar ddau blant. Dewis oedd gwrthod roi arian yr HS2. Maen nhw'n gwybod yn iawn sy'n ddyledus i ni. Dewis a deithol a wnaethant gyda phob un cam. Dewis roi Cymru wrth waelod y cyw. Dewis anwybyddu ein anghenion a ni a'n pobl. Doedd dim byd a nochel am ei llymder. Maelstrom a greuwyd gan greulondeb eturiaid a gwendid Cyr Starmer yn ymweu gan droi a throelli a bygwth tynnu'n pobl dan y dyfroedd. Ond wir i chi, maen nhw wedi gwneud cawlach o bethau. A dim ond hyn a hyn o gaffs gwleidyddol maen nhw cael ei gwneud cyn i'r wasg a'r cyhoedd droi yn eu herbyn nhw. Mae wedi dechrau digwydd ers misoedd, mae'r llong hon yn gollwng dŵr. Mae dirfawr angen cyfeiriad newydd ar Gymru, capten newydd wrth y lliw. Llywodraeth a fydd yn brwydro bydd ein pobl, nid dim ond pan mae'n gyfleus, neu'n hwylus i'w ffrindiau yn Llundain bell. Llywodraeth Plaid Cymru sydd ei hangen, a dyna beth bydd gan Gymru wedi'r etholiad yn 2026 gyda'r un ap Iorwerth yn brif weinidog ar Gymru. Ond Cynhadledd, falle fi'n wneud cam ar Llywodraeth mewn San Steffan. Falle mod i'n anheg. Wedi'r cyfan, maen nhw wedi rhoi enfoi i ni. Wel, dyna posh. Sue Gray, y Marco Polo modern. Ers neb cweit yn siŵr beth ydy enfoi. Cynrychiolydd, Cyr Starmer yn y gwledydd hynny, maen nhw eisiau cadw dan reolaeth. Falle i ysgoi unrhyw sens fod ganddyn nhw bod gan Cyr Starmer eisiau siarad gyda ni'r plebs tu allan i Loegr. Rhyw hangover ymwydreithol mae'n siŵr ydy'r busnes enfoi yma. Swyddi rhywun oedd wedi upsetio pawb, nad oedd mae'n debyg yn deall gwleidyddiaeth, so dyna ni, wnawn ni roi hi i'r bobl sydd ddim yn cyfri. Dyna i chi lle dyn ni'n sefyll yn y trefn flaenoriaeth. Ond peidiwch phoeni Sue. Ymhen rai blynyddoedd, nid enfoi fyddai arnyn arnom, ond llys genad. Achos mawr yr edrychwn ymlaen wrth gwrs at y dydd pan na fydd gan... Ie, wir, llys genad. Pan na fydd gan San Steffan unrhyw ddylanwad dros ein gwlad. Tan hynny, mae gennym griw o bencampwyr yn Llundain yn ymradd dros ein cornel cenedlaethol. Liz a Ben a Llinos ac Ann, gyda Dafydd a Carmen criw ydynt, a fydd yn tynnu lawr y terau adfeiliog yr hen balas gel y Thames. Darn wrth ddarn, a phob llwyddiant iddynt yn ei gwaith. But for the months to come conference, our thoughts will centre on another parliament entirely, one far closer to home, in this same city where land and sea meet. Our chance is to offer hope to this place and to the lands who feel forgotten at its borders. It is a glorious city, Cardiff, with its boulevards and arcades, its cafes and canals, its churches and Chippy Lane. This splendid city, a place founded with the dreams of our forefathers, but built on the misery of miners. No, we should not shy away from the two aspects of its story, exploited as its docks and workers were to ship the wealth out from our valleys. Legend has it, the first £1 million cheque in the history of the world was signed in Cardiff docks off the proceeds of our coal. It was a ledger soaked in blood, for none of those profits stayed in places where the miners ripped their fingers raw and slaved in the drudgery underground. No, we were left with the dust that clogged the lungs of miners and the slag heaps that crowd out the sky. They made a wasteland of our prospects and called it progress. And the insult of those coal tips, it still catches in the throat. Westminster must be made to clear those tips. At long last, our valleys have waited long enough under their shadow. But it isn't just our light that is being stolen. On our streets, too, proud testaments to our past face closure. Budget cuts mean places like Llancaerfawr and Blackwood Miners Institute are fighting for survival. How short is the memory of some local authorities? How easily they forget the struggle that took to establish those institutes. Places paid for from miners' wages to ensure the community had places to go for libraries, concerts, for meetings and dances and lessons. Life dealt those miners a cruel hand. They slogged and sweated their days in the dark, but they saved their shillings to give their children something better. Those miners' institutes were more than buildings. They stood as cathedrals to the kindness of men with blackened hands and poisoned lungs. Men, in Harry Webb's words, with 90% dust who could hit top C as if it never existed. The sacrifices those men made, the horrors they endured in the deep, but still, with their last breath, they sang, and their memory stays still in the hallowed halls of those miners' institutes. How shallow is the memory of those who would close them. Because conference, we in the valleys are so proud of our history, bitter as that history has been. It is a story, yes, of exploitation, but it is also a story of defiance. Men who fought for better wages, the widows of Cynhadledd, the parents of Aberfan. We do not forget our history, but it is the future we must face. And what the valleys need today is better wages, secure jobs, opportunities for young people. The calamity of what's happened in Port Talbot has brought back harsh memories. And friends, I know we all stand in solidarity with those workers, those men and women who've been cheated out of jobs by the wanton pursuit of profit. The governments in Cardiff and Westminster have betrayed those workers, and we in Wales cannot afford to see it happen again. Time and again, Labour told us they had a plan to save those jobs, ready to go as soon as they reached Downing Street. It seems the sickness of deception is catching on whoever walks through that black door. Hollow words is all we've had, and a decision to stick with all the same mistakes that have been made before. No renewable sector can be generated in Wales without steel. No sea change in how we power our houses and fuel our future unless we first make materials. It is short-sightedness tinged with vandalism to deprive our workforce of its metal. How can they be content to throw away such vast potential? The Labour Party is turning its back on these communities just as the Tories did before and Conference. They will get the same reward. Our valleys should not be treated as forgotten lands, but as the cradle of a new revolution of green jobs, harnessing the power of our nation's assets to catapult us into our future. But the mistakes of the past must still be reconciled. Our communities still wait for compensation. What right can be done now to atone in all those places where the wrongs of the past echo still? In Welsh, we call echo a carreg ateb, an answer found in rock and stone. Perhaps it's time we found an answer in those walls of rock, the mountains that have guarded us, the coal tips that scar the skyline. Because clearing those tips is only the beginning of what we in the valleys are owed. No, our valleys deserve recompense for the wealth they stole from under our feet and for the long years their coal tips kept us in darkness. Not daylight robbery, but the robbery of the daylight. What answer can those rocks give us? Our geology that so condemned coal miners and their widows. Well, what answer can there be for darkness, save light? Why not insist that Westminster pay to install solar panels, not on mountains, but on the sides of public buildings, to take up the corresponding space as was lost to those tips? On those who dwelt in lands of darkness, a light will be shone, a light that can power our buildings and ensure our wealth stays in our own small square of land. The coal tips have clouded the horizons for too long. It is high time we reclaim the light that was stolen from us. Westminster must pay its debt to us, outstanding as it is, the money owed to the miners' children, the charge they will never clear. Oh, what will you give me, say the sad bells of Rhymney. It's a line from a ballad known the world over, a song that sings of the wrongs done to our fathers and families. Idris Davis's words, made famous by Pete Seeger's song, speak hauntingly of a landscape in the valleys that is recognizable still. Empty churches mourning the losses of lives and the scantness of any reckoning. It asks, is there hope for the future? Say the brown bells of Merthyr. Isn't it time that question was answered? Isn't it time we gave those communities some semblance of hope instead of always having things taken away? Shuttered windows, empty properties, boarded up banks and snuffed out streetlights. Don't our communities deserve better than this? Why does the investment never come to them? No. This cannot be the end of our community's story. With reforms to business rates, to breathe life into high streets, policies to bring empty properties back in use, ending the iniquity of unfair council tax, greater investment in jobs. Our valleys will be the centre of our vision for Wales, not some place on the periphery, commuter towns for Cardiff, but places worth investing in for their own sake, as the vibrant, wonderful places so many of us call home. Together, we will make the valleys sing again. And what songs do we want our children to sing of us? Of we who live in this time of our history, a time of permacrisis, weak governments, burned earth. Do we want them to say that ours was the generation that lost its voice? Or do we want them to proclaim our triumph, sing that ours was the time Wales shook off her shackles, that on our watch the wait was ended? Wales, the newest nation in the world. What a chorus that will be when we only find the song. It's said that towards the end of the Cuban Revolution, in the hours before they took Havana, Castro and Che Guevara whiled away the hours of darkness, recounting the exploits of Owain Glyndŵr. Our stories have inspired other nations into being. That same fate awaits us too, the coda we must meet. Oh, we are a people that have known pain, but we have turned trials to our tune, the answers found in rock and stone that clamour down the ages. Why should we not sing our song to the world, as brilliant as its anthem will be? The land of song finding her voice at last in pitch and tone and in key. It will carry the chords of the miners, the music of those gone before. We will raise our voice to the heavens, a nation at last that is free. Diolch yn fawr.